Hey, church family. I was looking through the scriptures for this week's reading and thinking through it in light of this being the last devotional that I get to share with you as your minister of worship. And I couldn't help but thinking how appropriate it was that Jeremiah 29 is the last chapter in the list of reading. This whole transition is challenging because we're trying to be obedient to God's call. But there's a huge part of us that doesn't want to leave Moultrie, and especially this wonderful church. I've been through a lot of things with a lot of families here. We've been through times of joy and times of sorrow together. And you get to know people very well that way. After 8 years, you learn what works in a place and what doesn't work. And when you leave and go somewhere new, you don't know any of that stuff anymore. So there's that uncertainty. It brings anxiety with it. God kind of calls us out of our comfort zone sometimes, but He has a purpose when He does that. And when I read Jeremiah 29:11, it brought me some great comfort in those times of anxiety. This is what it says. He says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope." Well, that's great comfort. I tell you that coming to Moultrie was a big change for my family. We didn't really know anybody here, a few people, but not really. We had never been to Moultrie before. First Baptist Church became an oasis for us in a desert of churches who have been struggling for years to find their place, where they fit in. A lot of churches think it's all about a style of music, or, you got to be modern in everything that you do. And First Baptist Moultrie was not that. It was a church who had great history, rich heritage here, and we love that. There's a rich heritage that comes from biblical preaching, theologically sound singing for years, and generous missional giving. You've got a great balance between relevance in worship and reverence in worship. Ecclesiastes tells us that there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. Paul also reminds us in Romans that God causes all things to work together for good to those who are called according to His purpose. So we all know that change is difficult, but we also know if He's calling us away, that He's got the right person to come and fill this seat. It's painful for us, but when we trust God's plan, He can use circumstances to transform us into His likeness, to grow our faith, and to ultimately bring Himself the glory. So, in the days ahead, remember the promise from Jeremiah 29. God always has a plan, even when we can't see it. We love you. We thank you for everything that you've done for us, and we appreciate it all. And we ask that you continue to pray for us as we make this transition.